The Boy and the Heron, the latest film by Hayao Miyazaki, the mastermind behind Studio Ghibli, is the 14th film in a glittering career. It's also apparently his last, although I'd be sceptical about this, as 2013's The Wind Rises was also supposed to be his last, as well as 2001's Spirited Away and even 1997's Princess Mononoke. The Japanese title of his latest movie, How Do You Live, different to the international one, references a 1937 novel written by Genzaburo Yoshino, although the movie's story isn't based on that book. In fact, this one is a bit of a personal project for Miyazaki, evoking memories of his own childhood and reflecting on his life's work. In a bit of a departure for modern movie studios, who'd project their trailers on the moon if it was possible, Miyazaki stipulated that there would be no promotion for The Boy and the Heron before its Japanese premiere, only a single poster and a small handful of interviews. He wanted audiences to go in blind. The film is set in 1940s Japan during the Pacific War. Our protagonist, 12-year-old Mahito Maki's mother, dies in a hospital fire in Tokyo, and soon Mahito and his father move to the safety of the countryside, where his father remarries, this time to his late wife's younger sister, Natsuko. Reeling a little from everything that's happened, Mahito tries to settle into his changed life on the estate, dealing with new relationships, a new school, and more. Things are complicated by the arrival of a grey heron, which Mahito soon becomes obsessed with. The bird leads him to a tower in the countryside where apparently Natsuko has gone missing. The heron also promises Mahito that if he enters, he'll be able to see his real mother alive again. But as usual with strange towers in countryside estates, there's more to the old building than meets the eye. But will Mahito find his mother's there in the end, or is there some other purpose to his presence there, bigger than he could possibly imagine? There's no point starting a review of a Studio Ghibli film with anything but a comment on the animation, and yet again it's absolutely mesmerising here. Miyazaki and his team have photographer's eyes, and they always know where to put the camera for maximum effect. There's so much to look at in every scene, so much casual detail to catch the eye. The Boy and the Heron, like all of their films, will reward a rewatch for this alone. There's also a huge amount of variety in the film's locations. One moment we're in rural Japan, the next a spacious ocean world, then an emerald jungle. There's more creativity in 5 minutes here than we often see in entire movies. You never know what's going to be on the screen next, and because of this you can't stop watching. Along with the animation, I think it's worth calling out the sound design of The Boy and the Heron too. The movie is not afraid to have periods of silence to slow down, but when sound is used, it's incredibly effective at bringing to life the location on the screen. Cities hum with life, wooden floorboards creak, birds tweet, the wind roars on a cliff edge. It's all so carefully chosen and perfectly Goldilocks, never too much, never too little. The music's also wonderful, if a little sparsely used, but when it is, it elevates a scene and sometimes leaves you breathless. The film is paced in that usual erratic Studio Ghibli way. That's not a criticism, mind, just an observation. The Boy and the Heron has a slow start, taking nearly half of its runtime to get going. When it does, it races ahead at breakneck speed, building to a heart-stopping crescendo. While the movie's never dull during any of that, just don't expect that tick-tock slow-fast pacing we get in a lot of Western films. There are a lot of complex emotional themes dealt with in the story, and they're dealt with in a complex way. The movie's dreamlike at times, twisting and braiding and blending together images and moments and characters. But that simple goal for Mahito, finding his two mothers, provides a centre to it all, dragging the viewer through. We worry about Mahito, the war's impact on his family, about his grief and his attempts to come to terms with what's happened. By the end, you're rooting for him and his friends to succeed. On the topic of meaning, I sometimes wonder whether there's a little Emperor's New Clothing to Studio Ghibli films. Are we, as viewers, reading things into them that were never there? Or were they there all along and we're just teasing them out? I don't think it really matters. Miyazaki and his team's main aim is clearly to make us think and move us. The film succeeds on both counts. This dovetails nicely with something I mentioned at the start of this video, The Boy and the Heron being a vehicle for Miyazaki to reflect on his own lifetime's work. Ultimately, this is what the film is about. The first half, in which Mahito explores his new estate, evokes a sense of discovery, adventure, mystery. But the second half is about creation, what we should aim for with our time, whether that's in our creative works or just our day-to-day life. How, as the Japanese title of the film suggests, we should live. There aren't really many negatives to a film like this, purely because I think you'd know from a glance at the trailer whether you'd be interested or not. But some of it does get a little surreal at times. It's Studio Ghibli, so you can almost take that as a given, but if it's not your cup of tea, then maybe look elsewhere. It's also quite a serious film with very little humour. Makes sense, bearing in mind the subject matter. And to be really harsh, The Boy and the Heron skews a little too long in that slower first half. It's not film ruining though, and I'm inclined to give it the benefit of the doubt. I've not watched as many Studio Ghibli films as some mega fans out there, but by the end of this one I felt like I'd truly been on a grand adventure. Far more than any explosion-filled CGI-stuffed action film. I think moviegoers deep in their hearts want to be transported, moved, not assaulted by noise and sound, and this film does just that. Everything is so carefully thought out. Nothing's taken off the shelf, nothing mass-produced. There's wisdom in The Boy and the Heron, and ultimately it's a film that's made me want to go back and watch the rest of Miyazaki's works. If this is to be his last ever film, genuinely this time, I can't think of a bigger compliment I could pay it. Anyway, nothing more to say. This is Movie Maverick signing out.